there's a quarter to a third of the NBA that is nobody else in the world is anywhere near that. And then there's a huge chunk of the NBA and a bunch of players that are outside of the NBA that are very interchangeable.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Better Blue Podcast, hosted by Ryan Kelly, the man himself on the other side of the couch.
Oh, the other side of the couch.
And yours truly, James Michael McAdoo. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We're going to be having a fun episode. I know I say that every time, but it's true. It's going to be a fun episode. We're going to be talking a little bit away from the typical Carolina Blue Devils rivalry and whatnot. We're going to be talking a little bit more about just playing overseas and really kind of what led us to being, this is my 5th year as an overseas professional basketball player. You've been over here half a decade, man.
Crazy.
But like always, coming to you live and direct from Japan.
Hit that subscribe button down below if you're watching on YouTube. Otherwise, make sure you're ready for all the downloads on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
Yep.
Follow us, Better Blue Podcasts, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all the stuff. Have to remind you guys, and for our new watchers and listeners. And how about the mailbag? You want to say the mailbag?
Yeah, the mailbag is thebetterbluepodcast@gmail.com. Appreciate y'all getting us over 2,000 followers on Instagram.
2,500 on TikTok. It just went over today.
On TikTok. Seen a couple videos blowing up there. We see y'all's comments. We see the shade, and what do we say? We love it.
We love it.
Keep sending it our way. Subscribers keep going up on YouTube, man. Hit us up. What do y'all want to hear us talk about? We can't talk about the teams too much, man. They just, what did you say earlier?
Mired in mediocrity.
That's true. It's been rough, man.
Yeah. We touched last week a little bit on the things that we saw as issues for Duke. In Carolina, just neither of them had shown a consistency at this point to be championship contenders. Doesn't mean it can't become that, but
I thought if we would have beat UVA, which is what I said in the previous pod,
a little momentum,
you would have kind of got us back on the tracks. But literally, when Baycott went down in the very beginning of the game, I was like, "Oh, here we go."
Have they said how long he's going to be?
He came back the next game.
Oh, that's right, he came back.
He came back the next game, but we're still with. I mean, he didn't play the rest of that game.
Yeah, he was done the game.
We were down Pete Nance, who's still out now. So kind of got hit with a little bit of the injury bug and still not shooting the ball well.
At least you guys, if you have Baycott healthy, you have somebody that is giving you 17 and 11 every single game.
Yeah.
And Duke does not have any consistency. Yeah. Plus the unknown of Jeremy and Roach injury is a real issue.
Y'all, Filipowski went off against Florida State at home. Yep. Really saved that game for y'all. No, was it Florida State or Boston College?
No, it was what was last week? We played Clemson, and before that we were this is bad. No,
it was Florida State at home.
Yeah,
it was Florida State at home.
But Clemson game, then he put up 22 shots and had a rough day from the field. So it's more the consistency than the talent, right? We haven't found the consistency. So
more the consistency than the talent. You sound like a coach, man.
Hey,
sound like a coach.
When this whole thing is done, you
never know.
No way.
So, with that being said, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
We said that before the episode. We'll probably both be on the outside looking in as far as the top 25 goes. Looks like Clemson is the only undefeated team. There's a ton of 2-loss teams. I don't think there's any 1-loss teams in the ACC. But we're not either of those.
As of recording time, we're both 4-3 in the ACC. So smack dab in the middle, which is the definition of mediocrity.
Probably, we've been saying this a lot lately, but gonna have to win out to even have a chance to win the ACC regular season. But that's out the window. Yep. But we'll see, man.
Yeah, it's not like we're not tournament teams. Nah. It's nothing like that. It's not the complete disaster. It's just, like I said, neither team has found any level of consistency.
I think our best win, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong, is College of Charleston.
They're good.
They're the only – I don't think Ohio State's top 25 right now. I don't think Michigan is top 25 right now.
And tell the people who said College of Charleston.
You did.
would be a tough.
Pat Kelsey, man.
I told you.
He's actually a fun follow on social media. He's there's like a couple videos floating around. He was getting everybody riled up in like the cafeteria down there. And after they won, they had a big game. I forget who they beat.
High intensity.
Yeah, high intensity.
Yeah. But
that could be us, man. We could take our talents to a small D1 school, man. Build it up from the ground up, man. Hey, anybody out there? Any ADs out there? Any school
co-head coaches?
Any school president? Yeah, for sure. For sure. We bring a special pedigree. So untested, but hey,
sometimes you got to take a chance.
Got to take a chance. Taking a chance, man. Speaking of,
what a transition!
What
Beautiful
a transition. Hey, I'm professional, man. I take this seriously.
Professional on the mic.
Talk to the people about 5+ years ago when you put the United States of America, the greatest country in the world, in the rear view, and you said, "Honey, we're going overseas."
We're going overseas.
Yeah.
Well, let me say this first. I didn't want to.
Sure.
I had quite the story that led to going overseas. So strap in.
I'm here.
Because
you're not well traveled.
I'm not super well traveled.
I'm not super well traveled, but I've been around.
You've been more than I have. Yeah. Yep. I for those who don't know, after my 4-year stint in the NBA, I played in Spain for a year, and then I've since been with the same team in Japan, which pretty unheard of.
Shout out to Sun Rockers, man.
Baby. So after my 4th year in the NBA, this is 2016-17 season, I believe. Hope that's right. I was on the Hawks that year. I think just last week or 2 weeks ago, I talked about the fact that I had been cut, re-signed. And when I was re-signed to the Atlanta Hawks in the late winter, early spring of 2017, I signed a 2-year deal. Okay. So it was basically a few months plus another year. Yeah. As I also mentioned, the Hawks were in a transitional position, a time where they traded away Kyle Korver. Yeah. The roster was shifting. The front office shifted as well. They, at that time when I was being brought to the team, a lot of it was about Coach Budenholzer liked me a lot, and he at that time was both the head coach and the director of player personnel, I think was his position. So he had say on the roster. Following that season, we lost to the Wizards, I believe, in the first round. John Wall, Bradley Beal. Okay. I think that was that year. And they decided to, first off, change the GM. New GM was named Travis Schlenk, who was a Warrior assistant GM. Yep. And then also they stripped Coach Bud of his player personnel decision-making power. Gave that all to Travis Schlenk. So the other caveat was that my contract became fully guaranteed on like July 6th for the next year, that summer. Summer of 2017. So all these, I'm throwing out all this just to lay the groundwork of what ends up happening.
Season's over. You're at the crib. You like, man, I need to get past July, whatever.
July,
so my money can be
6th,
guaranteed.
I think it was in my contract. Yeah. So, and actually, I stayed in Atlanta because I was like, we're renting our apartment. I thought I got to be around this right now. There's a lot of transition, so I need to be around. Long story short, that was also the same summer that the Houston Rockets, I don't know if you remember, in and around the CP3 trade, they were bringing in a ton of contracts to then use to fill out the trades. So a bunch of guys were getting traded in and out of Houston to facilitate the possibility of that trade. Travis Schlenk, who certainly did right by me, he was a new GM. I had not played the entire season, really. I barely got any minutes. He had no, he wasn't like, I need to take care of Ryan here, whether he gets guaranteed or not. Doesn't matter to me, that's a business, as I completely understand. But what he attempted to do is trade me to the Houston Rockets. By myself. And then with the ultimate thing that was supposed to happen was I was supposed to be traded to the Clippers So I was supposed to be traded to Houston, traded to the Clippers, and then ultimately to be waived.
Before July.
Before that date. The reason he was doing this was with the ultimate goal to re-sign me, and I'm sure re-sign me to a non-guaranteed deal. So I'd have to make the roster, but be in a place where I still had fans, Coach Budenholzer, all that, and hopefully got a good opportunity at the very least. Schlenk traded me to Houston, to Daryl Morey in Houston. And I was supposed to be traded like immediately, and all of a sudden I wasn't traded. So I was in Houston, not literally physically in Houston, but my contract was
your rights
were controlled by Houston. And funny enough, at that time, Mike D'Antoni was the head coach of Houston, and he actually called me and to say I'm trying to do my best to keep you, but he had no player personnel power. And ultimately, I also was not coming off a great year either way, 2 years really, and Daryl Morey was all numbers, so there was really no chance. Daryl Morey promised that he would trade me anywhere else before he cut me. The reason is there's this random rule in the CBA that if the Atlanta Hawks trade me once and I get cut, the Atlanta Hawks can no longer sign me for a full calendar year. If I was traded twice, I could be signed by the Hawks again. Who would have known that? Long story short, Daryl Morey said, worst case scenario, I'll trade you to this team that owes me cash from a previous deal, and then they'll waive you, and you can be re-signed by the Hawks. Ultimately, he held on to me to the last second, like an hour before the deadline that my contract got guaranteed.
Wow.
Which I never expected my contract to be guaranteed. That wasn't like an expectation. And then he cut me.
Dang.
And I was no longer able to be signed by the Atlanta Hawks. And I'm not somebody that's sitting here going, I was screwed, because my father would always say, producer perish. It wasn't like I was coming off. If I had played better as a Laker or in my Atlanta Hawk year, wouldn't be an issue. So I blame myself above anything else. But that took the Atlanta Hawks off the table for the following year, and I had little to no interest after that.
I never knew this, bro.
So another crazy thing to it is, after that, I go, all right, I got to play in Summer League. I had never played in Summer League because my rookie year I had my foot injury. So
they didn't make you play in it the second year?
Second year I didn't. It was a 1 year deal. So I was a free agent.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah. So I never did Summer
League.
I never did Summer League. And because that was my best year in the league, was my rookie year.
You didn't miss anything, man.
So I go to Summer League, and this random thing with the dates and times of the waiving, and Atlanta Hawks said, "Oh, we'll take care of you. You're on our Summer League team. You're going to play minutes. After all this happened, we're going to take care of you." But there was some random rule where literally the time of day that I cleared the waivers and all that stuff, that I couldn't play the first half of the first game. So I was in uniform for Summer League, the first game, and was just sitting on the bench. And then at halftime, I was able to play in the game.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
That makes zero sense.
I believe we were playing against a guy who's in this league now, in the B League, Chuck Diallo.
Yeah.
He was in Summer League against the team we were playing against. But literally in the second half, I only played the second half of that game. Anyway.
So you finished the rest of the Summer League, though, playing with them?
Yep.
Okay.
Played with Atlanta through Summer League, whatever that was, 4 or 5 games in Vegas or whatever. Played okay, not great. And ultimately didn't have any opportunities in the States. Just didn't.
You didn't have any?
Well, I shouldn't. Any NBA.
Yeah.
I went to any real NBA.
Yeah.
I went to spend a week in San Antonio.
Free agency camp, stuff
playing
like that.
there, did all that. But ultimately, there was no contract in hand. And as you know, the league was shifting a little bit where, the end of your bench wasn't going to be filled with veteran guys. It was all youth and potential. And
did you not have any camp invites?
I think I could have gotten a camp invite, but it was not anything. I had kind of decided at this point family-wise that I was not going to be doing a whole year of the G League, D League at the time, the G League, and trying to get a 10-day because ultimately for the first 2 years of my career with the Lakers, first rookie season, I played a lot in the D League, G League.
Because you were coming back from your foot, right?
Yeah, I was coming back from my foot. It wasn't in the rotation. Long story short, over the course of my 4 years in the NBA, I got time in the G League and always put up pretty big numbers. So I was like, do I really go and play in it when I've already done that? What am I going to show that I hadn't already? And so that's where I was sitting there going, I should be on the Hawks, or I would be on the Hawks right now, and now I'm all of a sudden overseas.
So at what point did you start fielding offers for overseas teams? Because for those people that don't know, free agency for overseas starts fairly early, from May, June, where the NBA is still in the NBA playoffs and all that, July, and I feel like it starts to pick up again around Summer League because you have guys that are making the decision like, okay, I played good in Summer League, I'm going to try to go to the NBA, or maybe I didn't do the best in Summer League, I'm going to sign overseas. Because there are a ton of, just like there's NBA scouts and player personnel, people making decisions there at Summer League. That is the mecca for a lot of overseas teams to come because they're trying to sign guys as well.
Yeah, but there's a lot of fringe NBA talent that is playing in Summer League. So I started to, around Summer League time, think that this might have to be a possibility. I was still holding out hope that I would get an opportunity, which eventually kind of came in the fact that I went to go play in San Antonio for a week and a half or something to train there. So I was a little late. I was a little late to that process.
For a good reason.
Yes, with the hope, obviously. And ultimately ended up deciding that the best option was to go to Spain.
ACB.
The ACB, which is considered, outside of the U.S., the top domestic league.
For sure.
Outside of the NBA, and with the ultimate goal thinking, of course, I'm going to go overseas for a year in the ACB, be back in the league. And that was not ultimately what happened. There's some more story to that, but I'm going to let you hit yours.
No, that's a great
because I'm talking too much.
No, that was great, man. I never knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that was a rule where you have to be traded twice. Otherwise, teams will probably do that a lot more.
Yes. Yeah.
But, man, for that to have led to you basically having to go overseas, that's kind of tough. But it's a business, like your dad said, produce or perish. That's just what it is. That's the business we're in. For me, it was a little different, I played for the Warriors for 3 years, and then I had, the opportunity to, when I got let go from the Warriors, I just didn't get re-signed. Then I hadn't played much that third year, and there wasn't much interest out there, and I waited so long. So whereas you decided to go to play overseas, I waited, to, the very last minute to sign a two-way with the 76ers. And I kind of, my wife will tell you, she's actually right back here, so yell if I'm misspeaking, babe. But she was pregnant with our firstborn daughter, and I just was like, I can't have my daughter overseas. We got to be stateside. So that's when I inevitably had to take the best thing available, which at the time was a two-way with the 76ers. And one of their front office people was a Carolina guy, so he looked out for me. He was like, listen, I'm going to make sure you have all your days up with the NBA team so you can basically maximize the amount of money you're going to be making. And also hopefully get an opportunity to showcase yourself. I did not, just because there was a stacked rotation of guys. Joel Embiid, Trevor Booker was on the team. Amir Johnson was on the team. Rashawn Holmes was on the team. Dario Saric was on the team. So I was just, and these were guys that had been there, so there was just no opportunity. But, hindsight 2020, I got to be there. We got to have our daughter in the NBA, in the United States. And when I got cut, which we talked about that last episode or a couple episodes ago, when I ended up getting waived, I found myself kind of like just, back at the same point, except we had already had our baby at that point. So, again, there was not much overseas interest, so I ended up going to play in the G League. Long story short, I get hurt. So now I'm just like, all right, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
Going into the summer. It's the end of that 4th year, and I'm hurt, so I'm rehabbing all summer. And that's when I was like, I got to go overseas. I was basically like, I'm done with the NBA. Like, it's over for me at this point. Like, my only path back for me, was overseas. I know I for sure could have gotten to a G League. I could have tried to go to Summer League. Went back to play for the G League team that I was on before I hurt my knee, which was the Agua Caliente Clippers. But, having a newborn, having been married for, 5 years at that point maybe, I was like, I need to make guaranteed money here.
Exactly.
So that's when I made the decision to go overseas. And, like you said, you make the decision very naively.
Very.
Very naively. Not that I knew I would be back, because I knew how hard it was just to get into the NBA, having gotten cut after I got undrafted and then making the team through the G League, But for me, similar to you, I was like, man, I've done everything I could do, like in terms of the G League. And I felt like the minutes that I did play, although it wasn't a ton of minutes, it just was kind of tough because the most I played was really, that second and early in my 3rd year. I didn't play much at the end of my 3rd year with the Warriors. So there wasn't much film on me that summer. And I don't know, man. Everything happens for a reason, bro.
Absolutely.
But I'm not going to lie, I was shocked, like, after that 3rd year when I didn't. I'm like, man, how many dudes are on a championship team, bro, and can't even get, like, a minimum deal? I'm like, dang, was I that cheeks? Golly, bro. I'm like, man. But it is what it is, so.
There's not I can speak to that in the sense that LeBron James is a different level. Like, there's a quarter to a third of the NBA that is nobody else in the world is anywhere near that. And then there's a huge chunk of the NBA and a bunch of players that are outside of the NBA that are very interchangeable in terms of what a team needs,
for sure.
A certain skill,
what they want,
who
owes who a favor,
exactly, yes,
like
age,
who knows who,
yes, exactly. There's a lot of things that go into, player
for sure
5 through 15 on a roster,
and a lot of people that are in our position like to, say it's politics, and I don't know what you would say, but I would just say, man, people are entitled. Travis Schlenk was entitled to do whatever he wants to do. That's his job. Yep. His job was on the line.
Yep.
Those other 29 GMs are entitled to do whatever they want to do. That's their job.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, I don't hold any ill will. It is what it is. Of course, like you said, do I wish I could have played in the NBA for a lot longer? Absolutely. But so does everybody that ends up probably being on the outside looking in like ourselves. And that's when you just got to, put that NBA hat down and put on that I'm an overseas hooper hat, man. it comes with a lot of baggage.
It definitely does.
It comes with a lot of baggage. And you paying for that baggage.
Yeah. You are definitely
the overseas hoopers know what I'm talking about. We don't care if you got the receipt, sir.
Yes, exactly. I think, too, people sometimes forget that, as an NBA player, you do very well, right? Like, you make good money. I'm not sitting here saying we don't, but I was in the same boat. I had a family. I had a 8-month-old daughter and a 2-year-old son, and, that decision, there was a lot of weight into that. What's best for not just me, what's best for my family, for raising my kids, for my wife's mental health. All those things had to be a factor. And it certainly was a hard decision. And ultimately, when you're first going overseas, you're relying on other people to help you.
Oh yeah, you're totally blind.
Make that decision.
You're totally blind.
I always look back and go, and this is not a knock on the club. Real Betis, like I said, is where I played. And when I was signing, I'd heard so many horror stories of late payments in Europe.
Yeah.
So many. Every player that I talked to when I was home in Raleigh or something in the summer, they'd be like, "It is brutal. You're every late payment. If you don't play well, you don't get paid."
Yeah.
So I was to my U.S. agent, who was then relaying it to the European agent, saying, "I want to be on a team that this is not a concern."
Yeah.
Which, little to my knowledge, that's basically none of them.
None of them.
So, but I signed with Real Betis, where this agent, the Spanish agent, says this team pays on time. They are not.
Yeah.
They never pay late.
Yeah.
So I left, got on that plane, thinking in my head, okay, at least that's taken care of.
Yeah.
Maybe I could have made a little more money somewhere else, but I just do not want to be sitting around worrying about that paycheck to hit the bank account.
Yeah.
And I look back and I go, not one of those paychecks came less than 2 weeks after the date it was due.
But in and around 2 weeks.
Which is?
On time.
On time.
Any overseas hooper would be like, "Oh, your money was on time."
Exactly.
Like when you told me that, I was like, "Ryan, your money was on time."
Exactly.
2 weeks late, that's on time.
That's the naivety. Yeah. I didn't know that. I really didn't know that. Shout out Japan, where that is not a concern at all. That is actually coming on time.
Yeah, they're professional.
Yeah, super professional.
Hands down, no questions asked. Extremely professional from top to bottom.
Did you have any? Well, talk about your ultimately where you ended up and decision.
So I ended up going to Italy because I'll tell you why. Similar to you, I had dealt with my NBA agent my entire career.
Yep.
So here I am, like, hey, we're going overseas. What's the European agent talking about? Which is which I've since moved on from that agent, and I'm thankful because now I have strictly an overseas agent, and I talk to him directly, which is great, and I recommend that for anybody.
I didn't do that, but go ahead.
Right, but your situation is a little different. It's a little different.
Yeah.
So I'm just getting, it's like telephone, and so long story short, my agent's like, hey, actually, I take that back. My agent didn't even get me the job that I first signed with. A former Carolina guy got it to me because Larry Brown, a lot of y'all might know, Hall of Fame coach for the Pistons back in the day, played for Carolina way back in the day. Larry Brown took a job there in Italy. So he was the head coach. So when Larry Brown called me, he's like, hey, I'm putting a team together with Dante Calabria, was his assistant who played at Carolina back in the day. So he's like, hey, I want you to.
Nice setup is what you're saying.
He's like, I want you to come play for me. So I'm like, oh, man, this is perfect. Yeah. Larry's first year over there. He going to bring me over there with him. We're going to be running and gunning. He's got connections. I play good. We do good. I'm bouncing right back to the NBA.
Yep.
He was fired by December.
One of the greatest coaches of all time, by all accounts.
He was out of there by December. It was bad. They got him and Dante up out of there. And but it was such a learning experience. That first year, you're just the bad. I mean, culture aside, living in a foreign country aside, the basketball was so different.
Yeah,
I'm sure we could talk about that. But it took that year. Like I had to just. It was like beating my head against. It was for 10 months just beating my head against a concrete wall.
Yeah,
But I tell you what, that second year I flourished because I knew. I understood it that much better. But it was difficult, man. But it looked so promising, because when my agent and Larry is calling me, I'm like, sounds good, okay, top division Italy. We're playing in Euro Cup. All right, I'm all in, playing in a beautiful city, Torino. They pay on time? Cool, yeah, you're going to get your money.
Now, when it's the language there.
That's the language. You see that? You see what I said? So when he said, yeah, you're going to get your money, I heard,
on time.
I'm going to get my money. Yeah, cool.
You're good.
Team ended up going bankrupt. No longer exists. It was rough, man. But you live and you learn, man. And I was so excited, though. Like, I look back to that time. I never forget, we were renting, me and my wife and our firstborn daughter, we were renting a townhome right there in Chapel Hill. I was so excited because it almost felt like, all right, a new chapter.
Yep.
The NBA is in the rear view. If it happens, cool. But I'm going into something new. Me and my family, we're going to Italy. You seen it on, you see the coolest pictures on Instagram, the ciao bella. you know, mwah. Yeah,
Cappuccino.
cappuccino. Which all that stuff is true.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of it's rough, man. You know, you're by yourself. You know, you get there, they gave me the keys to my little Fiat. They dropped me off at my little, what was it called? It was like Via Bark in the Dairy, whatever, the street where I lived on, man. And that's it. And you on your own, man. And you just got to figure it out.
Yeah, I kind of got sold the bill of goods that Real Betis had been not a terrible club, but like first division in the ACB, but had never really been a playoff team in the league. And I had been told both by the Spanish agent and by the club that they were investing a lot. They wanted me, a former NBA guy, fresh out of the NBA, and they had a number of guys who had played in the EuroLeague in the past. Ultimately, those guys, I don't want to call them, they weren't over the hill, but they were on the other side of their career. They were still good players, but then also had the cachet of, I'm a EuroLeague player, and it just didn't, didn't mesh. And we had the experience of I had a player on the team get kicked off 1 week into training camp, 1 week, and this was a guy who was supposed to be like one of our best players, and they just
gone.
He was gone. I had a guy that a month or two later, they just decided we're not having him on the team anymore, but ultimately did not want to cut his contract for money reasons. And so they did, here's one of those overseas things that's great that you hear the horror stories. They had him coming to the gym every morning at 5 in the morning.
5 a.m.
5 a.m. to do some kind of workout. Yeah. Sometimes he'd do like a pool workout. Yeah. Sometimes he'd do a workout in the gym. And it was just to try and break him, so that he wouldn't just collect the money and not have to work. But ultimately he ended up just waiting. He did it for a while and waiting until he got the deal he wanted somewhere else and signed somewhere else. But it was a mess. It was a mess. There were multiple players on my team. Again, they were on the later stages of their career, but after that year, they retired. Yeah. They just said,
I get it, man.
I'm done.
I never forget, before I went overseas, I've mentioned my OG Justin Watts before, but Jay Watts is an 11-year overseas vet, and he's been all over. Yep. But he's been in Europe, I want to say 5 or 6 of those years, which that alone is like 10 years, not counting the other 5 or 6 years. And I never forget, before I had went overseas, this probably was the summer before I went over there, he was like, J-Mac, it's like a revolving door. Yep. He was like, it's going to get to a point in the season where dudes going to be coming in, you ain't even going to introduce yourself. Because you like, man, I don't even want to get attached. He said that to me. I'll never forget when he told me that.
Is that why you learned that from him? And then like for 6 months, he barely said a word to me?
Man. That's another story, man. That was a different time. Okay. But he told me that, and I remember laughing like, LOL, ha, 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 Yeah. But it's true, man. I got there to Italy, man. Dudes was out of the door. Dudes was cut, waived, sent packing before training camp was even over, man. And I'm just like, bro, we got the same Yep. They don't matter, man. Over there, they different, man.
And I never had this experience, but even if they don't pay you your money, it's such a fight to inevitably get the money and your lawyer's fees and all types of stuff.
I'll have to walk y'all through my FIBA back case.
Yeah, I didn't have that.
I'll have to walk y'all. So basically, everybody out there, when you sign with these European, any club, that's any reputable club, you're going to have a clause in your contract that basically says this contract is governed by, FIBA BAT, which is Basketball Arbitrational Tribunal, I want to say. It's basically the court that handles all contract disputes, So I ended up having to take Partizan, the team that I played for the next year, to court because they didn't want to pay me any of my money, which is that's another story. But
the whole pod.
That's a whole pod, for sure. But yeah, man, it's tough, man, because these teams, unlike, here in Japan, where you see a lot of teams smartly keep guys, try to build European teams, it's a new coach and an entire new team. Maybe their domestic guys are the same, But when I got to Torino, none of the 5 or 6 other Americans imports, were on that team last year.
Yep.
It's entirely new,
I had my 1 year in Spain. I had 3 head coaches.
Sheesh. Yeah. They fired Larry and then they brought in the Italian guy.
Well, what they did is fired the first guy, brought in a whole new coach.
I didn't know that.
And then fired him, and just like the lead assistant, they made the head coach for the rest of the year. But it was the lead assistant that had been with the club for years. It was just a filler for the end of the year. I will say this. Sounds like we're going into this negative realm. It's not all bad.
No, it's not.
A couple of things were great going to Europe. Lived in Sevilla in the south of Spain. Yeah. It was beautiful. Yeah. I mean, Game of Thrones, parts of Game of Thrones was filmed there. Beautiful place to live. Yeah. Got set up in a soccer player's house for Sevilla FC or whatever it is.
Their soccer team.
Yeah, because there's 2 soccer clubs in Sevilla, Real Betis and Sevilla. And was in this beautiful home, pool, hot tub, the whole deal.
Nice.
Which was amazing, and got to hop around all around Spain when we had off days. Went Malaga, Barcelona.
Y'all were not in any of the international competitions?
We weren't, so we played once a week, which was brutal.
Yeah.
But got some off time occasionally.
Yeah.
Hit Portugal.
Yeah.
Europe is so awesome for travel.
So
and
easy.
And another thing I would say that I think you can attest to for people that go overseas with families is you truly have to be a tight family unit when you go overseas.
Family unit. It's just y'all.
Yeah.
I've said that. I think that's one of the most difficult but also most beautiful things. It's just like, 100% unfiltered family time.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not.
I'm
sure our wives, they're not going to the gym for 3-4 hours a day.
They don't get
so
that
it's
break
a lot
that
more
we do.
difficult for them. But I'm like you, man. I would say, the negatives are fun to talk about, and you laugh over them. And I love talking to old teammates from when I played in Europe, just because of the grind, and you'd almost just come together, with the late payments and the crazy coaches and the long practices and the bus rides, and we've talked about having roommates, getting over there and
go from the NBA where you're in the
Ritz
and your own room and getting $50 a day for per diem.
Yeah.
And then you're going.
I was like 100, bro. It was more than
100, whatever it was. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe the championship Warriors did a little better.
You walk into the hotel room in Bormio, Italy, and the Joker is. They got the beds put together.
2 single beds together.
Swished together.
Yeah.
That's the
single beds. Like
I'm
laying down. It's to my shin.
Yeah.
And
thankfully, you got to
move
rearrange the entire hotel room.
Separate the beds.
You're a grown man rooming with some young European kid, but man, it's one of those things where it feels like a marathon some days. It feels like a sprint some days, but I can't wait I can wait a little bit longer, because I definitely want to play a lot longer, which we talked about. But looking back, it's just like, man, we're doing years away from the United States of America, and it's sad at sometimes because you miss birthdays, you miss holidays with loved ones and friends.
A lot of FOMO.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of FOMO.
But these are memories that you're making with your loved ones, making with you guys and. There's other people here, and you'll never forget that. Even this summer, my wife was talking about trying to go back to Torino, Italy. And it'd be nothing for you to hop on a plane and fly to Sevilla. You would know your way around. Yep. I could take you right now to Torino, Italy. I could show you around. I could show you, where you can get this, and this. So exciting, man, exciting, and relatively. I think I played for 3 clubs in Europe, and now I'm here in Japan. You play for 1. But like I said, there's some guys that, are playing 10 plus years and they're playing on a different club over there every year. So just imagine some of their stories. And we're going to try to get some guys, you know, we've talked about this. A lot of your favorite former Blue Devils, a lot of your favorite former Tar Heels, are still playing, you know. And we see the comments, people are like, man, y'all are still playing? Yes, we are still playing. We'll have to post some clips, man.
Yeah,
from us playing.
But highlights.
I would love to get some of our former guys on here that are playing over in Europe, playing in Asia and down in South America, just to, tell you a little bit about their experiences.
That's a whole conversation too. Why there's, for whatever reason, not because Duke players aren't in the NBA, but there aren't a ton of Duke players. There are a few, but there aren't a ton that have had long overseas careers. Carolina's done very well throughout overseas. Just an interesting conversation. But, yeah, like you always say, we're blessed, man.
We are blessed.
Yeah, we're very blessed. And, hey, it all led us right here to this couch, to the Better Blue podcast.
Shout out IKEA Japan, man. Shout out Lomac for putting this together.
For those watching too, look at this beautiful new rug
Lomac
that the McAdoos have.
Like, we're getting a rug. They came they got here the 5th. It was here the 6th.
You know what I would love in the comments too? We've been having this discussion about sitting in this couch, and we've talked about, should there be things here? Like, we're making this work in a Japanese apartment. It's not exactly built for the size of Mac and I.
Sure.
But, would it look better on the set, as we call it?
Y'all let us know. Shoot.
Let us know in the comments. Throw it in the mailbag.
Yeah, we'll even drop y'all our address, man.
Yeah, you want to ship it out to Japan?
Start sending us some stuff.
Yeah, we'll take it. We will absolutely take it. Might take a few weeks to get here, but hey.
Good times, man. Always good times here on the Better Blue Podcast. Hit us in the mailbag, betterbluepodcast@gmail.com. Ryan Kelly.
34.
On all platforms. James McAdoo on all platforms. Shout out to our wonderful producer, manager, talent agent.
Everything.
Yeah. Any promos, sponsorships, hit him up. We are open and welcome, baby.
Open for business.
We will wear it right here. We will prop it up right here. We will make room.
This is what this is for things.
Have your products featured here.
Hit that subscribe button, as always. Give us a follow. Give us a like. We appreciate you all for this is episode 12.
Yeah, I lost count.
Yeah, I know.
We're just on our third.
I just see it on the YouTube. It says 12. 11 comes out. It came out last week. 12 now. Good, so, man. Yeah, let's keep going.
Let's keep it rolling, baby.
See you next week.
Peace.